All right.
Okay, I guess we will go ahead and kind of start a little bit. So I've met one of you out of the two of you. So I'm Dawn Pierce with Southern Instructional Solutions, and we've got like almost the whole team here for language arts, I think. Actually, do we have all of us? Well, no, we're missing one. So we're missing little Taylor.
Yeah.
And Susie does math. She could teach us all something about math.
Well, as she reminds me, she's really a language arts person.
I know,
for her
you're
full-time
everything.
job. Right. But we're all, well, we not all of us are in the public school setting, but Dee over there, wave Dee.
Hi, everybody.
She's retired.
I'm still working, but at my own pace.
I feel like the Brady Bunch, like when you saw it on TV.
Yeah.
If you're old enough to know that.
Yeah.
We have to do like this thing where you look to each person.
Do you have paper? Does everybody have paper?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. You want to take over the screen and show them if you're going to work in a notebook. I'm going to show it in a notebook. Oh, we have Sasha
back. Okay. And if you want to does anybody have blank paper that they want to show you on blank paper? Maria, what do you have? You have lined paper?
I have a notebook.
Yeah. Okay. You can do it on that.
So I'm going to be modeling it in a notebook, but she's going to show you how to fold the paper real quick. If you're just
so if you did it on copy paper with the kids, you just fold it down like this and then fold it in half, just like a notebook. So this is kind of like if you opened it up, this would be your notebook, and then fold it again. And then we'll fold it in half again. So we've got our squares. And then half again, if you wanted to do it with the students this way. Then we open it up, and then Dawn, you can do it in the journal.
Okay, good. Do that one more time slower.
Well, everybody's doing notebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just you.
I'm doing it both because I have one student who does not like a notebook.
Yeah, so do it like this.
She has to fool them from time to time. Okay. Yeah. So sounds good. Okay, so
I'll stop sharing.
You stop sharing. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the FAST ELA goals, the breakdown for the grade level assessments and what those components are testing, how to either understand it for yourself, how to explain it for the students, how to explain it for your teachers. It also makes a great chart to hang up in the classroom. So let me go ahead and share screen with you and go to my notebook, and we will set it up together. Let me make that a little bit larger, and here we go. So across the top, now the one I'm going to be modeling is a 5th grade one, but the 5th grade one is similar to 3rd grade to 4th grade. And then what you're going to want to do is when I start explaining some of the details to it, you're going to want to look at your standards or your planning cards, look at the specifics of what you would write actually inside of these little boxes. And so, but I'm going to do the 5th grade one. What grades do we have here?
4th grade.
4th. Sasha?
4th and 5th.
4th and 5th. Okay.
So that will work for her, and Maria's in 3rd.
I'm in 3rd.
Okay. And so, Adrian, you're the 3rd grade expert, so you'll be working right along her, and since you're at the same school. So let me just go ahead. So right at the top, I like to write, I'm going to take my blue and I go ahead and tell the students exactly what colors I want them to use, but you can alter it however you'd like, or just start with a pencil for now. So I'm going to write FAST, ELA, grade 5 test. And you can feel free to, adjust that however you'd like. And then I just tell the students, go ahead and trace that first line going across. And then we're going to trace right down the middle of our notebook. And then we're going to do this 4-column fold, which is very, very common in the notebook. So we're going to fold the left side in and press, and then trace this line down the notebook. And then fold the right side in and press and trace it down the notebook. Okay. A lot of times I have the students count lines to find the middle, but I've gotten to where I just eyeball it a lot. And I'm going to go and find the middle of my notebook and trace it going all the way across like this. And then my next line, then I want to divide this one in half and pretty much find my middle line here. And I'm going to go across. And then over here, I'm going to go across. And I think, Adrian, I'm going to try it your way all of a sudden. Because I just messed it up already. No, I had that thought in mind already.
Yeah, I like
I like that
way.
idea. Okay, we like change all of a sudden. Now, when you look at this, the FAST assessment has 3 categories. So we're going to look at this as category number 1 right here, category, and it's working going down. So let's go ahead and take our pink highlighter and box this in so that you realize this box, this is category 1, is going to work down going this way. Okay. Category 2 is here. And this is going to work down going this way. So red stands for our reading benchmark. So that's why pink is as close to red as I can get. And category 3 is going to go this way. Now watch me carefully because I'm going to stop here. I'm going to
Wait, you need a different color. Wait, stop.
Why?
Are
No,
you gonna do the
This is
vocab?
green
Okay.
down here.
Oh,
So
I see what you're doing. Yeah, you're right.
So this is going to be,
Sorry.
is only going to be these 3
yeah.
boxes here.
You are doing it my way.
I know. I like that after you told me, because I think it's easier. Just
For
geometrically.
the kids. Yeah.
And then take your green and trace this one. So this is like an on the spot change. Talk about teaching, thinking on the spot. Okay. So this little box here, we're going to divide this in half. Is that right, Adrian?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So now we have our 3 categories. So your first category, I'm going to take you need a pen or something to write with, or feel free to use a pencil. My favorite tool from the 80s is the Bic 4-in-1 pen. So this is going to be category number 1, and we call this prose and poetry. So I'm going to write prose and poetry. So prose is just a fancy word for a story. And then so you might want to write a story under that with your students if they're not going to understand that. This is your informational text here. So information or informational. And then over here we have across genres and vocabulary. So the vocabulary part is this part down here that's in green. It becomes a part of this that's in red, in pink here. I do it in green just to make the vocabulary stand out. We kind of have it color coded to match what happens in this book. So when we give this training, these little color coded tabs, you see the red is pink, vocabulary is green, And so it kind of matches the color coding in that training, which is the way the state has it. But Adrian's kind of also changed the color coding a little bit with her students just to help them understand the columns. If you wanted to do one column, one color, one another, and one another, just so that they visually see it's going down, you can do that also. Okay, so in our first column, reading, prose, and poetry. So this is going to be R11. This is literary elements. So that means in 5th grade, literary elements, what does that mean to you? The main thing is that we're thinking about like plot. So we're thinking about, the students need to like think in pictures. So many of them aren't thinking this way. So we need to be thinking about like the plot line or the story map. So plot or story, if your vocabulary is a story map, as they move from 5th grade to 6th grade and 5th grade, you might want to start using that word plot if you're not, plot line, and that what are the parts of literary elements.
And in 3rd grade, Maria, we have character traits.
So we're still talking traits because remember it's building. So
Right.
we have traits. So you don't forget what's happening in the younger grades. But this is basically where you're talking about those characters, the setting, the problem, those events. What else? The resolution. So a lot of students get confused, and even some teachers, resolution, why is it not called solution? So solution is just like that happy ending, but resolution is coming to an ending. So you have like, it might be an okay ending, like we have to compromise. It might be an ending that you're not expecting. Like, that's not how I wanted it to end. How many of us watch a movie like that? Okay, now there's got to be some kind of sequel to it. And then a conclusion. And then look at what all it says that, look at your clarifications to see what all's there that it wants you to include for your literary elements. So it might have more to it for you to include. The next benchmark, it has to do with theme. So R12. And so this would be your theme benchmark. And then, so basically within theme, so this has to do with the author's message. And so I always like to add little pictures to this to just help it, make it interesting for the students. So the author being the writer. And you want to think about what was that lesson that was learned. And then remember to read your clarifications about that. And then the next one is R13. This is the perspective and point of view benchmark. So it has to do with that character's perspective. So what is that character? What are they seeing?
And also just getting the students to understand that it has to do with like their attitude and the feelings, like, because they get hooked up on that word's perspectives. And if you just make it simple.
So the attitude, when it talks about the attitude, that becomes the attitude becomes like the author's attitude. When they start talking, that's like that really it becomes tone. So that's
tone, right?
So when they use that word attitude, they're talking about tone. When they talk about mood, mood is feelings. So look to see what it says for your clarification. That becomes very confusing. So the attitude is that of the author, where the feelings become, how is it for you as the reader?
Yeah, so for third grade, it's both feelings and attitude, thoughts and reactions.
Okay. And then we get into our 1-4, which has to do with poetry. So in 5th grade, we talk about figurative language. So you have to look at that figurative language chart, look at your clarifications and see what it's holding you responsible for. Whenever it comes to figurative language, they want you to know about those elements. When it comes to poetry, elements being the parts,
The stanzas, line breaks,
right?
lines.
So for 5th grade, it's form, it's rhyme, it is meter, it's breaks, and it's imagery. Now, don't forget everything that it also entailed in 4th grade and 3rd grade. So like keep that also in mind as part of poetry. And then remember, there's also the complexity of the text that makes the standard increase in the level, and then also comparing sources. So they always hold the right to compare sources, and they can always increase the complexity of the text. So this is category 1 with prose, reading, prose, and poetry. Any questions with this so far? Okay. So the informational text is the next category, category number 2. The first one is R21. So that's what that second number means. Like there's a lot more numbers to this, but I like to keep it pretty simple. So R is reading, 2 is the second category, 1 is your first benchmark. So R21, this is called text structure, or they might just call it structure. Remember, as a part of structure, it also includes the text features. So don't forget the text features, which includes the purpose, not like just naming. You have to remember, keep the purpose in mind along with the meaning of the title, the pictures, the photographs. Always combine it, the purpose plus the meaning. Then when it comes to the text structure, you have that fiction text structure. You have that nonfiction text structure.
Adrian,
Yes.
so in 3rd grade, so what I noticed, I guess, when we switched over to BEST is that the text structure, like for 4th grade, is problem solution.
Sequence and description.
So 3rd grade is
Chronology, comparison, cause and effect.
effect. Are you guys compare and contrast also?
No, it's only comparison. But we teach it together.
Right. Okay.
So what happens is if the 3rd grade teachers don't teach that and the 4th grade teachers don't look back,
Right.
it's a problem.
Right.
And then remember, they're always going to be comparing texts,
Right, exactly.
no matter what grade they're in.
My question is, why did they pair text features with text structure?
Because text features is a part of text structure. So this is your inner, how did they word it for Chris D? This was your inner
it's like your inner structure and then your
outer structure.
I mean, I think because it depends on the text structure, right? what text features you're gonna see. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, no.
But think of like building a structure,
Right,
right? So like you have to figure
features.
out, right? And then those features are the things that you add to it. So I think they just put
Right.
that together because with informational, if it has those text features, it's going to be informational automatically
right.
because you're in reading informational text. So
It might have more of it, more,
mhm.
because you're still gonna have, you probably are gonna have, you're still gonna have quite a bit in the fictional text, you know, features, because you're gonna have maybe the pictures. You might have
Right. You
another
have
title.
titles,
You
right?
might
But
have a footnote they need to understand how to utilize. So but maybe not all the bells and whistles that might be in nonfiction. But it is just another, I think like we're probably one of the few people that have it separated and everybody else had it already together.
mhm.
R22, we have central idea.
But Maria, I think I understand what you're saying. Like, why is it separated in the in the standards to be two different? I don't know. They just put it under one structure.
Right,
And
right.
I think also when you think about going to read, and you think about how when you go to read and you go to utilize this, you don't really want to have it separated. So think about when you go to survey the text, for example, and you're starting to initially read. So you survey the text for your text features. Like, so you look at the title, you look to see at the pictures, and then you start to predict the text structure. So what kind of text do you think I'm going to be reading? Does it look like I'm going to read a story? Does it look like I'm going to read informational text? Like, it's kind of hard to separate when you first start reading. And then you start reading and you start confirming on that text structure as you read, or if you get confused, those text features might help you start to make sense out of what you're reading, or when you pick up on the text structure wording, those signal words as you're reading, you know. So I kind of like they work together
Like in tandem with
when
each
you're
other.
reading. And so these are like the reading benchmarks.
Okay.
Like when you see like a timeline and then you start reading.
Right.
So that's why it's like they don't want things so isolated. They want you to see how it works together, even though
Together.
you might teach them, like I have to teach like about like the text before I can teach them to survey the text. They have to understand text features first, because I want them to notice the title and I want them to notice the pictures. And what's the point of that? The title is going to give you that main idea. And then I'm going to go into text structure. You see?
Okay.
Yeah. But in the end, like they're working together, even though you might have to approach them. It takes time. Remember, these are end of the year benchmarks.
Right.
Not
Okay.
like you teach it once and you got it, because there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
And then even when you look at if you look at the achievement level descriptors that have our 5 different levels, like to go through the levels, there's a lot that you have to understand, and the understanding the complex text too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so central idea is next. So central idea, I still use the wording of main idea with them, even though we have the word central idea. I'll go back and forth. So I'll write that here. Central idea being, what is it mostly about? And that this means that for a 5th grader, not only is it directly stated, but it also might be implied.
That's 4th grade as well.
Okay, so it can be directly stated or implied. and it will also include relevant details. Okay, so that's part of the 5th grade central idea. And then when it goes, our next one will be R23. This is called purpose and perspective. So when it comes to purpose and perspective, so this is going to be the author's purpose. And then the perspective, when it comes to the perspective, think once again about the tone is what it's talking about here. The tone, you figure out the tone or the author's attitude based on the words that are in the text. So think about those words. Are they more positive in nature? Are they negative kind of words? Are they neutral kind of words? That's how you figure out the tone of what that author is like thinking. What is that author's attitude? Look at how I spelled attitude. That's how you get through what that author's attitude is, what that writer is thinking about when it comes to the text. And so there's all kinds of purposes. So don't just stick to those 3 main purposes of pies. There's so much more than pies, but you might be thinking of, oh, they're trying to persuade. They might be trying to inform. You've got entertain, but what else could they be trying to do? Maybe they could be explaining.
I was gonna say, like, giving directions is explaining.
Maybe they might say give directions. There's like so many other ways that they could be, they might see these kind of words. They might say show. They might say, maybe they're trying to illustrate something through their words. Okay.
Oh, the other day there was a test answer that had the word show.
Mhm.
I don't remember like the rest of the sentence there, but it was the correct answer. And I had gifted student tell me that that couldn't be the correct answer because there were no pictures. So he was equating the word show
With
with
illustrations or
so
pictures, yeah.
any pictures. So I think it's very important, like what you're kind of getting at is that we're not just sticking to like these wordings, but like trying to get across to them there could be other words. It depends on what you're looking at.
Mhm.
And clearly he was confused with like, oh, I said, okay, well, show doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be like a picture that you're looking at.
Right.
All of those different, like, I was even going to say maybe even describe, but
Mhm.
there's definitely more than just
Right, for sure. Because as they move on to middle school and high school, describe is very important because they moves them into descriptive details, which then becomes imagery. And they don't connect imagery with descriptive details being the 5 senses.
Mhm.
That's what it is. That's all it is. And so I always am having to like I'm in a high school now. So that's, when we talk imagery and I have to just say, what do you when you imagine, like, how do you imagine? Like, let's imagine something. And then I get the senses out of them. And I'm like, that's your 5 senses. That fancy word is your 5 senses. And then they're like, oh, okay. Okay. And then this,
Then we have
uh-huh,
author's claim.
we have argument. So with argument, we have like what you were saying, we have the claim. So, and then we have to include some evidence with that. So we're thinking about like, what are they, or if somebody for something and then somebody else might be against it. And then also think about reasons why. Reasons why. So this is it should kind of sound familiar because they're writing similar to this. So when you see text like this, break it apart and it'll be connected to their writing too. So they're trying to see good models of writing, like look at their reading as a good model of writing. Okay, so you have your 4 benchmarks for reading prose and poetry, 4 for informational text, and then we're going to have 5 for across genres and vocabulary. So the first one is R31, and this is your figurative language.
And there's 2 places that this is tested in 3rd grade because it's under here and then it's under the context and connotation
But you also see it pop up like
in poetry.
over here in poetry. So it comes back.
It comes like across.
It comes across in many places. So we're talking about in 5th grade, we have similes, we have idioms, we have personification, we have alliteration, we have onomatopoeia, if I spelled that right. We also have, that's all I have written here. Double check like what's in your
In 4th grade, right? It has metaphor, simile too, and hyperbole.
Metaphor. Okay, so don't forget about this. That was in 4th. Hyperbole.
And personifications in 3rd.
Personification was in.
Oh, it's in 4th too.
Okay, and so it was also
Still a lot. Basically, there's a lot.
right. So just basically everything that was in 3rd grade and through 5th grade, you want to make sure you continue to know what it is, know what by knowing the purpose. It's the same idea as text features. You got to know that purpose and then apply it to the meaning of that figurative language, purpose and meaning. And then this is the one that if you ever cross over or if you're ever in like a K8, this next one is the one that changes from secondary to elementary. So this is R 3-2. So paraphrasing. And summarizing. So in secondary, this one doesn't exist. In secondary, this becomes comparative reading. So here's like my secondary one. So here you see figurative language is there, but it becomes R33 comparative reading. So paraphrasing and summarizing. So things they're paraphrasing and summarizing in 5th grade, it talks about paraphrasing and summarizing when it comes to plot. It talks about paraphrasing and summarizing when it comes to theme and also central idea. Okay, so focus on, so that's going to intertwine with this one, and this one. So you might want to put like yellow dots on all these. Now that I think about it, I kind of like that idea. So this one and this one and this one and this one all go together. There you go. Okay, now The next one is called comparative reading. So that was the one I was saying was up above before. So this is R3 comparative reading. So when you're comparative reading, when you're comparing sources and you're going across sources, you're going to think about reading, noticing what that topic is. And they're going to be using in particular a primary source in 5th grade, focusing on primary sources, and a secondary source. I don't know about the other grades, but in 5th grade, that was the note that they had written for.
4th grade does too.
Okay.
Adrian, in
Yeah.
3rd, it's topic and theme.
Yeah, so in fiction, it would be about the theme, and then in informational, it'd be the central idea.
Okay.
And then like if you ever go to 6th grade or you have a 6th grader or a 6th, 7th, 8th through 10th grade. So comparative reading is your second one. And then here becomes rhetoric. So
Oh, right.
rhetoric starts in 6th grade. R3-4, logos, ethos, pathos, your rhetorical appeals is what starts here. So this is the change that happens from 5th grade to 6th grade, and this is what it continues to be in middle school and high school. That's the only real change. As for like the standards, of course, the technical stuff, the rigor increases. And then down here we have our vocabulary. So our vocabulary in specific, the standards. So we have the first one is V12. This is morphology. So when it comes to morphology, we have our prefixes, our suffixes, our root words. Remember, in our root words, we have the 2 kinds. We have Greek and Latin, which is different from our base words. So remember, the base words are words that can stand alone. Like think of cupcake. So cup and cake are 2 different kinds of base words. There also are Anglo-Saxon words that they can stand alone. Greek and Latin need to be attached to a prefix and suffix in order to be an actual word. So like spec cannot be a word without having another part of a prefix or a suffix or another root with it to actually be a word. And then there is V13. So this one is context and connotation. So this is of course context clues. This talks about word relations. So word relations are basically your synonyms and your antonyms. So they don't mean synonyms and antonyms like in isolations. They're talking about synonyms and antonyms in relation to using it as part of your context clues. So there's synonym context clues, there's antonym context clues. And then there's many other kinds of context clues. And then remember, when it comes to connotation, they're going to be testing connotation in particular related to, again, figurative language. So connotation in particular, how it's related to figurative language, and also connotation, how it's related to tone. So what is that tone? What is it like the tone signaling to you? Is the connotation of the tone, is it positive? Is it negative? Is it neutral? Like, what is it implying when with the way the author is writing? So remember, the tone is that author's attitude. And then of course, so if we have connotation, we also have denotation. I always tell this, remember denotation is dictionary meaning. So if it's just your basic meaning that you would see in a dictionary, it's the denotation. And if it's not the dictionary meaning, then it's the connotation. Then it's that inferred, hidden type of meaning that you're having to figure out. That's the connotative meaning. So that would be the 5 benchmarks under genres and across genres and vocabulary. Now, this other column, you're probably wondering what that's for. So if you were to use this for a data chat or for the students to track their data, then you fold this into thirds like this. And take that blue highlighter again, and then just trace down this way. And this bottom one, I trace it in half like that. And then I have them label the first one as, this is PM1. So if you actually had started this at the beginning of the year, this is where their first data would go. And you could draw an arrow just to help them understand how to read this. This all goes together, PM1. PM2, I'm going to use my black pen to start, but PM2 would go here. I'm going to trace over it in yellow. Would go right like this. And then all of this column is PM2. And then the last column would be PM3. And tell them it's important to keep their data from PM3 for the next year, because it's that PM3 score that they have to beat the following year. It's not that PM1 score that they're trying to beat. It's that PM3 score. So it's very important for you to know what that PM3 score is for them to beat it either by a bucket, if they're already proficient, by a point that following year. So this is where that category 1, 2, 3 would go. And then down here, you would put the total. So you could put the total like a level and put the level here. You could put the scale score here. You could put their next goal down here. Okay. And then, or feel free to make adjustments, but this is just like the way I have it. And then once again, the same thing, 1, 2, 3. And then once again, the same kind of setup to go there. So an example of this one. Now, what's really neat, let me show you one that's done. This student, this is a 9th grader. Any questions so far? Okay, this is a 9th grader that I did last week. And I want you to see like her check marks and her X's. So what we did was we took her, I didn't take out her report, but anyway, this is another student. This is a 4th grader one, but you see how she has under reading, prose, and poetry, these are the questions that she was given. And so under R11, she got it right. R11, she got it wrong. R13, she got it wrong. R12, wrong. Like, okay, so I just went through her report with her for all of her questions. She had 40 questions and we charted wrong, wrong, right, wrong, right, wrong, right, wrong. And so we were able to see that out of her 11 questions, she got 2 of them correct on reading, prose, and poetry. For informational text, she got 5 of them correct for informational text. And then look, she missed all of them in argument. She only got 2 here in rhetorical devices, and she missed both of those, but she got all of them right in text structure. And then out of cross genres and vocabulary, she got 9 out of 18. She got half of them correct. Okay. So this student, she got I think she was a middle here, right here. She got a level 2. Here's her score, and she needed 17 points to get to the level 3. So she was feeling a little bit deflated, but when I showed her that she originally got from a level 1, from a level 1 to a level 2, she increased 29 points. So I was showing you can get to that level 3, because if you got 29 points from your level 1 to your level 2, now you need 17. If you got 29 points again, you can easily get to the level 3. So she's like, oh, okay. So now she's like going again. So if you have students, so if I can get her to proficient, that means for her, she's excited because she has the goal of going into ROTC. She wants to go into the military. She wants to be like a captain in the military and follow in the family footsteps, but she's feeling really deflated. And then she wants, and she still has to pass it again in 10th grade. But and for the school, a level 3 proficiency point, learning gain, and I don't even know, she might even be an L25. So that would be 2 or maybe even 3 points for the school. Okay. So your points wise, if your student was a level 1 or a level 2 last year, they need to move a bucket. So what is a bucket? That means that if your student falls, let's just look at just the reading. So this is online. So your buckets are here. So if your student scored somewhere in level 1 low, medium, or high, if they're low last year, they have to get to medium. Or if they're a medium, they have to get to high. That's a bucket. So that would be a learning gain point, and that would make your principal totally happy. Okay. What's not a good thing is for them to stay in the same bucket.
Except for us, Maria, in 3rd grade, because ours is just focused on proficiency.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So yours, they only count if they get to proficiency.
Right.
And because I teach gifted high achieving, and all of mine came in at a 4 or a 5, guess what all mine have to be?
Yours have to be 1 point higher than where they were. 1 point. So if they were at a 4 and they dropped to a 3, but they get 1 point higher than where they were, that is still a point for proficiency and a point for a learning gain. So that's 2 points. Okay. So don't worry if they're not a 4 again. You just need 1 point higher than where they were, as long as they're still in proficiency. Okay.
Like a point higher than where they were
last year.
Last year's PM3.
Right. Right. Okay. So you either move a bucket if they're low, or if there are 3, they're going to be, I guess you're looking at if they can get into proficiency. So, that's going to be what it is. You can only do the best you can with that. That's where we were all at last year. And then you also have your portfolio that's going to help you too. So you have that part that pushes them over, and then you have iReady, right?
Mhm.
So you have like 3 areas.
Well, we looked at Maria's data the other day, and her class is in pretty good shape.
Okay. Okay. So any questions? What do you think?
Maria, you think you got this? You can do it with your class. Or with my help. I can help you.
Yes, yeah. And what I like is that in each box, it's broken down by what they need to concentrate on.
Right.
You
the
know, what
vocabulary.
kinds of things are they really looking for under perspective and point of view or author's message?
Mhm.
I mean, theme.
Makes
So
sense.
under theme, they need to focus on author's message, lesson learned. It's like broken down for them. I like that.
Right, right. And this is a good thing to have open on the desk at open house too. Like when you have, like for next year, you know, you can have that thought, to have this on their desk for the parents. So when I do this with the students, like if I did this, when I do this when in tutoring with the younger students, like you might just draw out the chart one day and label. And then the next time you might just like do the first column. And
Mhm.
then the next time you might do the next column, or if that's too much, you might do two. So that you have
Okay.
time for your lesson, you know, don't forget about your lessons. And then you might do two. And then the next time do two, and then two, and then two, and two, so that you can get through it, you know.
You know what I
Yeah.
have? You know what I have, Dawn? The one that we did for the math. Remember for that training?
Hmm.
I still have that one for the math. The only difference with the math was because there's like 4 category, like you have to go, like it's not all gonna fit on those 2 pages. I
Right.
had to like fold the page and do like the 4th category, like on the back of that 2nd page
Right.
there.
Adrian, I'd like for you to show your paper.
Yep. Got it.
Sasha, are you stuck? Do I need to like help you get?
No, she probably is muted because of the kids.
Oh,
She's there.
No, yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
okay. Oh, I like.
Sorry, it's
So it's
just
the same thing.
yes, no, and I was following along. I did my chart. Thank you. It's
Okay,
just one is like screaming, ready for the shower.
I understand. Okay.
This is how
Very
it looks this way.
Yeah. And then we're going to make a nice, pretty one that can just be photocopied too. So if you ever just need like a real quick one, and then we'll put it up in TPT along with this video. I'll probably put the video also on YouTube. So if you need a refresher, you'll have it there also. So we'll put it in a number of places.
I was thinking also in the classroom, you could do that chart paper and do one chart just for category, reporting category 1, 2, 3, so that it's hanging up in the room. You can point to it as you're teaching it. Look, this is what we're learning.
Mm-hmm.
I do
Yeah,
have
that's a
one
good idea.
question.
It'll be a visual for them.
Right.
What's your question, Dee?
So now I look at this at the informational column.
Uh-huh.
You had on there fiction. Why do we have fiction when is it supposed to all be information or just getting them to understand the difference between the two?
The difference between the two, because when they get to it, they have to understand, well, is the structure, even though it's tested, I see what you're saying in informational, they still need to think, wait, what is the structure of this text? Is it a fiction? Is it going to be a story? Am I thinking about it like this? Or is it informational? And my brain needs to start thinking about it with the, you know, the graphic organizer, how we do it. Because you're reading it differently. Your brain's thinking about it differently.
Right, but that was just my question, because I was like, oh, that's the
Yeah.
information column, and I wasn't sure why it was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we always do that with the kids, so
Okay.
they can differentiate, hopefully. All right, any other questions?
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. And
Yeah.
keep a lookout for other live sessions because we're just starting to do them.
As people ask for help, we're
Right.
like, let's just get online and do this together.
There you go.
Trying to get them recorded slowly. Very
All
good.
right.
Well, good luck next week. Another week. Getting close.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you. Thank you.
this.
This is really nice.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Really helpful.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.